Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure having you again for Viewpoint here on DBS television every day from Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. That's it. Today we are going to be discussing issues concerning the global pandemic, that is the coronavirus pandemic. And with us here in the studio, we are having Kashe Jordan. He is a holder of a Masters of Science in Chemistry with Drug Design as a specialty. And of course, we are having Mange Venashus, our regular man in the house. Good evening to you, Kashe, and thank you very much for honoring our invitation.
Good evening, Vanessa. I am honored to be here today.
All right, Mange Venashus, it's a pleasure having you.
The pleasure is mine too, Vanessa. Good evening, and good evening to our viewers in the house.
The program is divided into two parts. That is the yes or no question and answer, and of course the debate. For the meantime, let us take the first part of the show. Once more, welcome back. In our first question, does Africa has the potential to develop a cure for COVID-19? Jordan, are you for yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, Africa has the potential. Mange Venashus?
Yes, Vanessa.
Yes. And question 2, do African scientists have the same aptitude like their Western counterparts in drug design? Jordan?
No.
Mange Venashus?
Yes, Vanessa.
Yes. And our last question for tonight, are there any effects of constantly sanitizing hands and wearing a face mask to fight COVID-19? Mange Venashus?
Yes, Vanessa.
Yes. And to you, Jordan?
Yes, there is an effect.
Yes, there is an effect. Coming up is the debate. Stay tuned. All right, Jordan, I will begin with you tonight. You said yes, Africa has the potential to develop a cure for COVID-19.
Actually, I say yes, and I maintain the yes.
Okay. So what justifies, or what are the things that actually proves Africa as a continent that could come out with a remedy for this cure?
All right, thank you for the floor. It's always my pleasure to give my opinion on the potential of Africa and Africans in relation to the cure of COVID-19. Well, let me start by saying that according to the Oxford Dictionary, potential is a quality, it's a hidden quality that if developed may lead to important successes. Why am I saying this? Actually, Africa and Africans possess the quality to develop a cure against COVID-19. But the anti-COVID-19 cure developed in Africa may not necessarily be officially accepted worldwide. I believe this because, first of all, Africans are very ambitious. Actually, Africans are ambitious. This determination could be as a result of previous successes in the traditional medicines of Africa. And of course, this determination is depicted, it is expressed by the first fact that we can all notice that many people from all sectors of activities are bringing up treatments from plants and combinations of plants today, especially in Africa. I will hereby acknowledge and appreciate the effort of Monsignor Samuel Kleda. He's the Archbishop of Douala Archdiocese, and he has brought up a traditional treatment which is basically a combination of herbs, and it has been shown to be 100 or almost 100% effective. Also, African countries are determined to the extent that Malagasy, that's the inhabitants of Madagascar, are actually proposing that their anti-COVID-19 herbal medicine in the name of COVID organic should be used globally, and they are in that light making what they call broad affair with WHO, which is the organ which directs how the functioning with respect to the health of the whole world should look like.
So do you consider that as a potential for Africans to come up with the cure? Because many other countries, we believe that the World Health Organization did not validate it because it came from Africa, and that medically it has not been proven that it could cure COVID-19.
Actually, it has not been proven that it could cure COVID-19, but we have seen patients who were infected and after taking the treatment were cured. The scientific proof has not been done because that is what WHO recommends. They actually recommend a thorough scientific proof in order to validate the medicine. They do not deny the fact that the medicine treats. And the question here says Africans can develop a cure for COVID-19.
Can they equally develop a vaccine?
Well, we are coming to the vaccines. Actually, developing a vaccine is another stage in drug development, and according to me, Africans cannot, for now, develop a vaccine because they don't have the necessary means, the necessary tools needed in order to do the development of vaccines. Because actually, currently, vaccines are being developed in several foreign countries, developed countries. More than 10 countries are developing vaccines with different mechanisms of action, but to the best of my knowledge, no African country is actually involved in the action.
All right, thank you very much, Jordan, for your viewpoints. Mangevin Shoes, you say Africa has the potential to develop a cure for COVID-19.
Actually, Vanessa, like like Mr. Kache was saying, we noticed that with the outbreak of COVID-19, Africa, the world expected Africa to follow what has been happening in other continents. I take, for example, the USA, I take, for example, Britain, France, Italy, Germany, where people have been dying in their numbers. But then, that has not been the case in Africa. Africans have been talking of having their own anti-COVID, herbs that they have been taking. We know that the continent Africa is one of such, if not the only continent now in the world that is blessed with natural, herbs. And Kache Jordan, he deals with that. They will tell us that most drugs, if not all, most drugs are developed from herbs. Mm-hmm. And if Africa has the herbs that can develop these drugs, then Africa has that potentiality to develop a COVID-19 cure. But the worry here is that the Western world feels threatened with the position of Africa. Threatened, why? Because if Africa should develop the cure, that there is we have some economic implications that go with this pandemic. If Africa should develop it, then multinational pharmaceutical companies that are being run and functioned and sponsored by European countries will no longer function, because the shift will now live from European countries, American countries to Africa. And then it will be like power changing hands, because where economic power lies, political power also follow. So it is very obvious that the World Health Organization, I doubt the contribution that Africa has to World Health Organization compared with Western countries. It is very obvious that they will not accept if Monseigneur Samuel Kledat declares more than 3,000 cases that have been treated by his own cure. What is the World Health Organization waiting for? Is it that the cure must be in a well-sealed bottle, container, or in a tablet form for it to be called a cure? Or if they mix the herb in a pot and I take it in a cup and drink and I'm well, is it not a cure? because what we seem to understand is the world or the World Health Organization needs a cure in a tablet form. White. He needs a cure in a capsule form. He needs a cure in a bottle, well sealed. That is where we will talk of a cure. But then Africans are telling the world that we just walk behind the house, get some herbs, boil them in maybe in a clay pot even, and then drink, and you are fine. And it is becoming a problem for the world to accept that that can come from Africa because Africa is one of that continent that is condemned, you know, that they cannot produce something helpful to mankind. So that's why I say that Africa has that potentiality to develop a cure for COVID-19.
Thank you for your viewpoint as well. Now, Jordan, you think that African scientists do not have the same aptitude like their Western counterparts in drug design. Now, you as a drug design student in masters already, what is the challenge or what makes Africans disqualified to have that same potential like their Western counterparts?
All right. Africa, let me start by saying rational drug design involves the discovery and the development of safe, effective, and readily available medicine. Actually, the organ called the World Health Organization must make sure that a medicine, before being actually introduced into the market, follow these three key things. It is safe, effective, and readily available to the patients. Well, Africa is good in drug discovery, which is just the initial step in drug design. So she's good. Africa is very good in drug discovery, but Africans still lack at the level of drug development because it requires enormous infrastructure, and we are very poor. We are infrastructurally very poor. So drug design involves some physical and chemical principles which require, as I earlier said, sophisticated tools, and we actually are in lack in Africa for the moment. That is why it is difficult for Africa to develop medicine, but yet it is not complicated for Africans, and instead Africans are actually good in discovering medicines. Example, as I earlier said, vaccines are currently being developed in several countries because they have the necessary means, they have the sophisticated tools to do the
sophisticated laboratories.
Yes, the laboratories are there, and the training, everything is perfect over there for the development of medicines. But actually the medicines that they develop, most of them have their basics from Africa. Africans do extract plants, molecules from plants, and they publish the molecules, but they cannot develop the molecule. The molecule is active, so those who can develop the molecules do develop the molecules. They actually big pharmaceutical companies in USA, in Germany, in China, and in India, in most developed countries, who actually are involved in the development of these medicine.
All right, thank you very much. Mange Venantius, he says no, African scientists do not have the same aptitude as a result of the fact that there is a lack of an industrial capacity to develop these medicines. But you better think that African scientists don't have that capability like the Western counterparts in drug design.
That they do have.
They do have, yes.
That is why when I listened to it, I was afraid that if we are not careful, we run into inferiority complex, because we tend to say that when we talk of aptitude, it means, do I have the ability, mental ability, you know, can I do it? Africans can. And from experience, when an African leaves that poor university with no laboratory to carry out experience or experiments, and moves, has the advantage to move out of Africa and go to Western countries, he confronts his Western counterparts, and in most cases, Africans graduate with very bright colors. The thing here is, do we have that aptitude? We do. When we talk about developed pharmaceutical facilities to develop the vaccines, if you look at, we are still suffering from the effect of neo-colonialism, because Western countries, I said, when it comes to economic power, it has something to do with political power. And the Western world understands that if we give the Africans that political power, they will not longer command, the power that they command in the world. Because they know that if we are independent of them, if you are careful, the trend may shift where we will have the white trying to come to Africa to survive, because we have everything. We have the manpower, we have the mental capability, we have the resources. The problem is the Western world has succeeded in brainwashing some of our leaders to make sure that we don't develop our facilities. That is why our medical sector remains lacking. It is not because we cannot, it is because the will to develop it is not. Those developed countries that Mr. Kachi was citing them, India, Germany, US, they don't make, do they fabricate all those facilities that they have? They buy them from other countries, buy them and then set up the laboratories. Is it that we don't have the money to buy? It is the political will that they have made it for us to understand that we cannot. And if we are not careful, we will grow up with that same mentality that we don't have the aptitude. Africans have the aptitude, and if not, a bit higher aptitude than the white. Remember that what the white man succeeds in doing is they isolate us, they divide us, and make us feel that Cameroon can be Cameroon alone. They don't forget that if Cameroon liaises with Nigeria, if Cameroon cooperates with South Africa, cooperates with Morocco, what will come out will be very powerful. Because when you look at these pharmaceutical companies, what they do is, you see, this part comes from Germany, this part comes from India, this part comes from China, this part comes from US, and they combine it and build a pharmaceutical factory in any of these countries. That pharmaceutical factory saves the four country. But what they will do here is they will try to, make sure that they bring a problem between Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, Cameroon, China, Cameroon, and make sure that we are separated. If Africans should come together and build up their mentality, the world will beg from Africa. And then this coronavirus is tending to prove to us that Africa can survive without Western country. Of recent, at the beginning of this month of July, we were informed that the Schengen area has decided to block around 27 African countries from getting into their zone. I think that African leaders should also block their own zones, to say that nobody leaves France and enter the CEMAC zone. Nobody leaves France and enter the ECOWAS zone. So that we should, because for the past 3 months, we have been existing without them. Borders were closed and we are existing. Let us try to make sure that we stand on our feet. If Monsignor Kleda can cure 3,000, what blocks him from curing all the 11,000 or 12,000 that we have in Cameroon? It is because the policy in place has not given him the go-ahead. Last 2 weeks ago, he complained that hospital staffs are not able to apply his drug because the administration has not given them the go-ahead. If they give them a go-ahead, like what happened in Madagascar, if he cured 3,000, he will finish the rest. And if we succeed in curing what we have with his cure, why do we need a cure that must be certified by WHO? Why do we need a cure that must come from China, that must come from USA or from India, whereas they are dying in their numbers? Look at what is happening in Madagascar. The president of Madagascar refused and told the World Health Organization they should go counting their deaths while he goes on building his country, and he is building it. They are living with his herbal cure, and there are no deaths recorded there, whereas mighty US is already counting deaths in thousands. So it means we have the aptitude. It was not a white man who developed who discovered, I use the term that Kache was using, who discovered the cure for Monsignor Samuel Kleda. It was not a white man who discovered the cure in Madagascar. It was a black. It was an African, which means Africans have that aptitude that they can aptitude even more than their Western counterparts.
Jordan?
Okay, Venasius, actually, you are not really distinguishing between drug development and drug discovery,
which is not my field,
I'm trying to emphasize on the difference between the two. Before I go deeper into what I want to say, let me recall that in Cameroon right now, or today again, the government is still budgeting over 100 million francs CFA every year in order to import drugs from foreign countries, like France, especially France. Why is it the case? Because there is this lack of trust, lack of willingness. The government does not actually invest or promote scientific research. It is not because we cannot do, but it is because there are some constraints that prevent us from actually accomplishing what is supposed to be done. African scientists, they actually don't have the same aptitude like our counterparts in the Western countries, because our counterparts already are exposed to these favors, to these
possibility
of
carrying out research.
Yeah, actually the possibilities are around, and of course I think that is where the word aptitude should be laid, at the level of the possibility that each and everyone has to do what is supposed to be done. Africans actually do not have the possibility, and therefore they don't have that aptitude.
And therefore they do not have that aptitude. Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. Our third question for tonight: are there any effects of constantly sanitizing hands and wearing of face masks to fight COVID-19? Jordan, you said yes. We know these are all measures to prevent one not from contracting the coronavirus disease. Constant washing of hands, or better still, you sanitize your hands as regular or as often as possible. So what are those effects that one could have?
All right, thank you for the question. I said yes. Actually, someone will think that my yes is basically related to COVID-19. No. The question says any effect. And for me, in as much as the face mask protect us against COVID-19 infections, there are many people outside there whom I personally know have never put it on, and they are still healthy, and they actually go to marketplaces every day to do their business. They are healthy actually. So I will not actually give too much favor, too much points or marks to this wearing of face mask in terms of COVID-19. But I said yes because, or mostly because, the face mask and the hand sanitizer also prevent so many other infections. Before I continue now, let me say that COVID-19 is not a mysterious disease. COVID-19 is not a supernatural infection. It is just a normal viral infection like the common cold, the common flu. It is very necessary for people to believe that COVID-19 can be prevented and can be cured easily. Face mask and hand sanitizer help, as I said, to prevent many infections, not only COVID-19. And I think people should wear the face masks and the hand sanitizers, even should sanitize their hands even after this pandemic.
But we're talking on the effect of constantly sanitizing the hand or putting on these face masks in the fight against coronavirus. So what are some of those effects? Or does it mean that if you said yes, it means that it has some effects? So what are those effects?
Yeah, actually I divided my answer into two. Mm-hmm. The positive effect and the negative effect.
Let us take the negative.
Actually, the
negative.
Start with the negative. All right. So the negative effect, according to the CDC, that's the Center for Disease Control, based in the USA, face masks actually represent a danger if, to an extent, especially the cloth-made face masks, actually to an extent, if they store carbon dioxide they store carbon dioxide. Mm-hmm. So if to an extent there is a storage of carbon dioxide, it can lead to intoxication. It can lead to intoxication, and intoxication will lead to dizziness, and of course some infections can follow. So face masks, recommended face masks should be wet, but the ones that are not recommended should not be. Actually, I will not encourage people to use them.
All right, and sanitizers.
And concerning hand sanitizers, I only know about the positive effects of it. I don't think hand sanitizers have negative
effects.
Positive effects of hand sanitizers, of course, they kill germs, they kill bacteria due to the ability to actually burst the protein coat of the bacteria and the virus, which lyses it.
Okay, thank you. That's your viewpoint. Man Kevin Ashus, what are some of these effects? If you say yes, there are effects of constantly putting on face masks or sanitizing the hand very often.
Besides saying that once you wear the face mask over and for longer, you instead tend to inhale carbon dioxide than the oxygen, because the oxygen is which we are suffering from it. It is not much, but then we keep depriving ourselves from wearing, from inhaling the oxygen, and we tend to inhale carbon dioxide. It has an effect on our lungs, and it leads to heart attack when you inhale carbon dioxide. Hand sanitizers, what are they made of? We talk of acid, we talk of gels, we talk of alcohol. Once you use them on your hand, we say, as safety protocol, the World Health Organization asks us to constantly sanitize our hands. And in as much as you are constantly sanitizing the hands, it peels the hands. It is not like frightening people not to use it, but the problem is, how do we use it? How do we use it? That is where the World Health Organization failed to tell us what we should do. And with this, I tend to think like those people who think that there is a kind of hidden agenda behind this virus. Because you cannot be living alone in the house and you are putting on a face mask. You cannot be moving along the street, it's not crowded, you are putting on a face mask. Or somebody was saying the other day, you are driving in your car alone, you are wearing a face mask. No, you should wear a face mask when you are in a crowd and within a certain limit, limited time frame. You should not just wear it anyhow. And once you wear it, from time to time, inhale oxygen. If not, we are gradually killing ourselves. Vanessa, there's a study that is being carried out. Some scientists are following out the long-term effect of fighting this COVID-19 with the use of face masks. And they are saying that the world is gradually drifting to another pandemic, because in as much as most people keep wearing the face mask, they are creating other health complications that in the long run will be coming up. We are not saying that people should not wear it, but people should know how to wear it, when to wear it, because if we wear it for long, we may end up causing more harm.
All right. In some videos, we even saw how somebody got burned because of excessive use of
hand sanitizers. And another thing is, fake hand sanitizers are being used in the market. They are being sold in the market. Once you use it, the fake hand sanitizers, it has the effect on the hands.
Irritation.
Somebody was the other day even saying that it's preferable to tell people to wash their hands with simple soap. That is preferable than hand sanitizers, because the hand sanitizers, there are so many that you don't tend to doubt the source. Where are they from? So I would rather think that if you have access to washing hands, is preferable than the hand sanitizers.
Okay. And Kashe Jordan, maybe in your field of activity, drug design, how far have you gone in that particular field?
Okay, as an African in Africa, basically I have been involved in the discovery of new molecules, especially in the area of epilepsy. So a new molecule called endotricontate. There are actually two, and the other one is tetracosanoic acid. They are active against epilepsy. The two molecules were isolated from Harungana madagascariensis. It's a plant. The seeds of the plants were used actually, so we could isolate these molecules and try to evaluate their activity against epilepsy induced in mice.
All right, thank you.
So they were very active, and we therefore intend to continue in the line of developing the medicine, the drugs, the molecules to medicines that can be probably marketed in the long run.
In the long run.
Yes.
We are wishing you the best in that.
Thank you, Vanessa.
And it has been a pleasure having you.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Mangev and Ashuso, hope to have you again tomorrow.
When duty calls, we will be there.
When duty calls, we will be there. And of course, we have the right to be there, God willing, tomorrow for another edition of Viewpoint. Hope that you have been educated scientifically concerning the wearing of face masks or the constant using of hand sanitizers, as well as Africa having the potential to cure COVID-19. That was said to have a blessed night in the company of programs on DBS television. Bye-bye.